Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. It's Tuesday, the 7th of April 2026, and thank you for joining us this morning. I am Manulu Akbo Idu.
And I am Samson Balogun. It's great to have you with us as we bring you the stories shaping conversations across Nigeria and beyond.
We begin this morning with a developing story that has sparked public debates as the convoy of the Fire Service Chief to Kogi State continues to draw reactions from citizens raising questions around public service conduct, accountability, and priorities. It's a conversation that reflects broader concerns about governance and public perception. I'll be unpacking that as we go along.
After this, I will bring you the weather report to help you plan your day, followed by Daybreak News. I will take you through the top national and international stories making headlines.
Absolutely. Then it's on to the newspaper headlines and analysis, where we review the major stories across today's front pages and issues driving public discourse.
All right, later in the program, we'll take a deep dive into our big story: democracy or dominance, rising concerns over APC's influence on opposition politics. And to help us unpack that, we'll be joined by Honorable Molaja Olaoye, APC chieftain and public affairs analyst, who will provide insight into the dynamics shaping Nigeria's political landscape.
And as always, we wrap up with Trend Watch, tracking conversations gaining momentum across social and civic spaces.
This is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television.
Good morning to you.
A wonderful morning to you.
Yes,
of course, good morning to our esteemed viewers out there. It's really nice to be back here, just like we do every day, to talk about trending national and international stories. And this morning, we'll be talking and starting with the service chief attached to Kogi State and his miraculous convoy, as you would call it. I mean, that for me is something that really needs to be studied and questioned. But even though netizens are already asking questions about how it got to be that way, what was happening, what was the occasion, and where was it going that attracted such kind of what you would call a kind of situation where everyone decides to now follow him that way. I know.
Oh, well, I could say it's another kettle of fish, quite honestly, because it's something we are still having conversations on to say one of the things we should start doing is to cut down on whatever expense we are spending at the government level. Officials must try to streamline their budget and allocations and resource allocation as well to what is more paramount in the country. And in a country where we've had cases of fire outbreak that has been very difficult or maybe sometimes impossible for the fire service to quench, you might want to question when you allocate resources that are meant for national use, for personal use. It becomes a question, becomes a conversation. And I think it's also important that we note that, if you were able to see the video, you understand why this became a public situation, because obviously these are vehicles that are not meant for personal use. They're meant to serve the country in that regard, to help whenever there's a fire or there's an accident, to help quench all of that. And that's exactly why this has become a thing to say, this is the national resource, and then you're using it for personal use. And that brings the question. But again, the lavish nature of the convoy actually triggered widespread criticism on social media. Like we've also said, that critics are now questioning the allocation of emergency resources, for ceremonial purposes. We understand, according to the details of the information we have, that it was just, some would say, maybe a blessing, Thanksgiving, or ceremonial, whatever they call it. That was the purpose that he went to celebrate that. Yes, he was appointed to office just last year, and he went to receive blessings from royal fathers and all of that. That is okay. You can do that within the confines of your resources. You can do that with your car. If you have 7, bring all 7. If you have 20, bring it all out. There's nobody that's going to put you or put a nail to your hand for doing that, because it's your money and it's your vehicle. But the question now is, when you use state resources for those kind of parade, for ceremonial use, for personal use, it is unacceptable. And I think one of the things people will be looking out for is to say, could there be a sanction for this kind of activity in order to stop deterrent from making it happen again? Because you could see it wasn't just that the vehicles were the only thing. You could also tell the fact that they will fuel the vehicles, right? So who gets to build who gets to pay the bills, right? Who gets to see? You can imagine. Who gets to feel all of this, right? Even if he feels all of these costs, I'm not sure he will feel all of this. State resources has been allocated for this, and then we see security people like or maybe DSS, I don't know what to call them, in suit, and then everybody's parading him, and that brings a lot of question as to how our leaders really think of themselves, what they make of themselves. I think we have lost the fact that every leadership position is meant to serve the people, and if it's all about the people, all of this, I know, yes, the African culture agrees that we have this kind of ceremonial outings, we have, it's okay to have this, but have it within what you are able to do, within your capacity, within your financial resources, whatever you're capable, whatever wherewithal you have to do it, but don't use state resources. And again, these are officials, officials of the sector that are supposed to probably be at their units post, are supposed to be doing something, also parading with you. To have this kind of, I mean, it's really unacceptable. If you have to think about the seat, no, I remember one time, even in Oyo State, when there was a fire outbreak in a place, it was so difficult for them to get there early.
Well, you get a lot of excuses for.
Yes, you might want to ask them question. Do they have this kind of, these vehicles I'm seeing are very amazing. Yeah, but that was in Kogi anyway. These vehicles I'm seeing, they are like
luxurious jeeps.
Luxurious. You can tell, like, these are working resources that can be used for, for serious situations.
Okay, if you look at the vehicles, that is 1, 2, 3. Those are 3 of them can be attributed to the fire service, red in color, probably given to them for that purpose. There's another bus there. That makes it 4.
Yeah.
That makes it 4. Okay, and then you have vehicles for security operatives. I think about 3 or 4 of them. That makes it 7. And then where did those bikemen? Where did they come from? Were they informed too that there will be a parade of some sort? It's a question that you really want to ask. But then, let's talk about duplication of roles. Okay, I think that we should, the Nigerian Constitution and some other provisions of the law should be reviewed one way or the other. I think we have overlapping functions for security operatives and the likes. I do not understand why some people will have to leave their security post. They leave their duty post, and then they join other people in their charade or whatever it is they are doing. And also, this is more of a status display than necessity. Okay, it was absolutely unnecessary. There was even, I think there are bikes also following them, the official bikes for, I mean, this is way too much. So if the fire service chief of a state goes out in this kind of convoy, what will happen to Usman Ododo, who happens to be the governor of that state, if he's going out? That means he has about 100 or maybe 200 vehicles that follows him, because when you talk about status, he's definitely way ahead of this, the so-called fire chief in the state. And definitely, if you compare that, if you can be allowed to exercise such waste, because he's the service chief, he's fire chief in his state, then what will happen to the governor, the deputy governor? And this is where waste comes from in governance, just like you rightly mentioned the other time. I mean, someone will have to bear, of course, foot the bill for the fuel.
Logistics. Some of the people might even get money too.
Maintenance, because these vehicles, they are not going to be there for maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then you will not maintain them. And these are expensive vehicles. So it means that the more you use them, the more, even if you park a vehicle, definitely you are going to maintain by the time you come back. So, for me, I think not just the governor should question what happened there. I think the fire service at the federal level,
the commission,
should question whatever it is that was going on there. Unfortunately, again, when I talk about duplication of roles, you have fire service at the state level, you have fire service at the federal level. No link whatsoever, no synergy in how they work in operations. It's just everyone doing theirs on their own. You also have several ministries, MDAs, parastatals, that at federal level, yes, they exist. At state level, too, they are there. And in fact, you get to hear about some ministries, agencies, MDAs, and you begin to ask yourself this kind of question. What exactly do they do here? I was talking to someone, and we were talking about Sugar Development Commission. I was like, okay, sugar, yes, we understand. But then should sugar be a commission on its own? It could be somewhere attached to another
Ministry of Agriculture,
Ministry of Agriculture,
Environment,
something.
whatever they can put it.
At least they share similar responsibility. But one thing I know that I've been able to deduce from all of this. Nigerian leaders, they tend to create some offices just to suit them, create offices for their friends just to occupy a place. And that is where excessive spending in governance comes in, because you have different MDAs, and then when you ask questions, how many of these ministries, parastatals, actually do what they are meant to do? And if at all they exist, what exactly is their role? There was a particular ministry we were talking about, and it was clothing. I mean, do you even know that such ministry exists in Nigeria? But it does exist. Okay, it might probably during this administration, it has been, maybe attached to another ministry. But then we have the Nigerian Port Authority, and then we still have the Ministry for Blue Economy. So what exactly? I mean, what's the difference? You could explain to me in plain terms what they do differently, because it still includes everything you will find in the Port Authority, or maybe the Port Authority should be right under that ministry. But then you have them separated all across the country, and then you are asking the question, what exactly do they do in all of these ministries?
Very valid.
All of them have people who are gainfully employed in those places. And Nigeria, at the point, we're saying, oh, we cannot, I think that was under Goodluck Jonathan administration, oh, we can no longer afford to pay salaries of civil servants. And I think it was Okonjo-Iweala at that time that actually gave that warning, that the way Nigeria is going, you are dipping your hands into the foreign reserve. You are spending the money lavishly now. There will be a time that you will not be able to pay salaries of your employees, not to talk of having capital projects across the country. And eventually, someone came and said, look, with the way we have spent, we need to get loans. And after getting loans, we might likely remove fuel subsidy. Nigerians will not understand the basics of how recklessly we have spent our own monies generated within the country, and even some we got through loans, aids, and the likes. But then here comes the time where there is nothing on the ground. You have to borrow. But Nigerians will complain about borrowing rather than complain about those who spent their money lavishly. You still remember the Suki Gate. Till now, nobody has really been held accountable for what happened. And that was the hard-earned money Nigerians contributed through their noses. They sweated just to get that money into the coffers of the country. Some paid taxes, some were double taxed. And then someone came and spent all that money. That is the exact case you are having now with that fire chief in Kogi. It is one way that we have wasted Nigeria's resources over and over again. We continue to do that. I mean, you can imagine a V6 or V8 vehicle that travels from here to Kogi State right now. You know how much it will cost for you to I mean, 4-plug vehicle, a Toyota Corolla. That was, I think that was the day before yesterday. I was having a conversation with an APC chieftain that traveled to Abuja for the convention the APC had. And they said they spent about 250,000 naira on fuel alone. Not to talk of other things. Fuel, just from here to Abuja. You can now imagine how expensive that would be. If a 4-plug vehicle spends 150, what will happen to a vehicle that's maybe V6 or V8? And you have about 4 of that in your convoy. And you are busy blaring around the state like nothing is happening. That's someone's that's someone's tax.
Tax, yeah, right there. I guess I wanted to speak to the fact that it's been such a waste at the government level, and this is why some have even said that nothing in government ever works. And I've heard that a lot of times.
And that's because we have normalized excesses.
This kind of thing. So if there's no penalty for this will still continue. We've seen this before. This is not the first time, right?
Don't be shocked if you see him tomorrow again in the same situation.
I've been to government parastatals and offices, and I was so astounded as to what I saw at the place. Sometimes there's no job. Nobody's working. Nobody's doing nothing. They sit down. They discuss papers in the morning. The men gather around in the evening. Let's talk about sports. Well, yeah, I mean, like, Arsenal is not doing well. Arsenal is supposed to win the league. We can have those conversations, but not at work, right? If you're at work, be at work. If you work at work, you don't talk at work. You don't play at work.
It's good that you made such assertion before you continue. But the problem is, what exactly do you think or do you feel they should be doing when there is absolutely nothing to be done?
Okay, so this is now the case. I was thinking about it because I don't know so much, but I've seen quite a few things online, and I've seen how this kind of sessions or sector or commissions, how they work in other climes of the world, right? We see sometimes when there is no duty, they appoint them to do something else that is still within their jurisdiction. Maybe, of course, there are a lot of equipment they have. They still do trainings for them. And then whenever there is an emergency, you can see the ways these people will respond to emergency because they have been trained so much. this is now the case. We have this kind of people sitting at the offices, and then the service chiefs comes around to say, you know what, I'm going to Kogi. And then everybody say, we'll jump on that. Let's join you, because there's really nothing we are doing at the office anyway. Can you imagine a private establishment like we are now? Something you cannot travel for 3 days right now, because your job has to be done.
Absolutely.
And to say, and it's not even about succession that someone can take over. Someone, yes, can take over, but you still know that you have a responsibility to serve in your organization. Private institutions cannot afford this, and that's the way we should look at things. If we start looking at government the way it should be done, then it has to be like kind of like privatized. If you're not at work, I remember a governor recently visited one of the offices, the secretariats in his community. I can't remember. I think yeah. And then he went to the community and he was surprised that people were not. He was asking, "Where is this person?" He said, "She's on her way." At 10 o'clock, you imagine. So if we have those kind of governors, or people in those offices checking out to say, I'm going to this office unannounced.
You hear things like, she came earlier and then she went, she'll be back.
Where she's stepping out to, what's on that table, there should be a job going. That's why private establishments are always the best. Everybody gets to sit down to work. You cannot, even your CCTV camera is there so as to show, are you working? What is more important is you deliver. We have work. So if they claim they don't have functions or work, or there's no emergency, how about training sessions? How about gathering up for the next one that is going to happen? It's not as if they are praying for evil to happen, but we know these things that's why we have that commission, because we know there will be emergency. Right. How prepared are they? So we see situations when emergency cases arise, and then they are nowhere to be found, or they don't have enough water, or they don't have fuel, or the vehicles that are available are not in a good state or function, and you see a lot of excuses. What are you doing when there was no work? And that's exactly why there should be a questioning for the service chief, the fire service chief that has done this. There should be a question to say, we cannot accept, it's not acceptable. And at this point that Nigeria is, we need every hands on deck. If these parastatals, MDAs, departments, commissions are not working as they should, then it's a mess for the country.
You see, another thing you should notice is that right now in Nigeria, most of us are complaining about the ratio of security operatives to Nigerian citizens. And as poor as it is, as against what the United Nations actually prescribed, you will be shocked that most of these numbers we are talking about, hundreds of thousands we are talking about in Nigeria, they are still not at their duty post. Some of them are not even in the country. Some of them live abroad, and they get paid. They only take part of those monies to just, maybe sort some people out. I've gotten to speak to some people about this, and it is even more rampant in the security sector, where they are no longer in the country. Some of them have traveled out, but then they are still in the service. And then when you count the number of police officers, number of civil defense operatives you have in the country, you count them, but they are not here. So someone will have to cover for them. Oh, he has gone to so-so place. Oh, he has been posted to so-so place. The problem is there should be a screening exercise that says, look, let's put an end to laxity when it comes to the job you have been given to. Be accountable for once. Let's know where exactly you are, what you do there, and someone should monitor. But unfortunately, those who put at the helms of affairs to monitor actions and inactions of some officers or maybe employees of the government, they are just this. They are still the ones that will tell them what to do. Oh, you can just go through this channel or do this. Call so-so person. They give them the gaps and the lacunas in the system for them to work with. Now, earlier I mentioned about ministries, agencies that have overlapping functions. You see, it saddens me that we get to see this in the Nigerian system and nobody has corrected anything since the reintroduction of democracy, 1999. Now, you see agencies, ministries like Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, meant to handle social welfare, poverty reduction. But when people will criticize overlapping agencies like this, you have NEMA and social investment programs. Why do we have them separately? Why not one? And then we'll be able to monitor where these monies are going through. So why not consolidate under stronger social development ministry instead of spreading them across about 3 different, it even happened under the Buhari administration so much. I think it was Billy Jonathan that he had one, I will remember the name, but then Buhari had social investment program, SIP, and they were busy going around sharing money about the market money, farmer money. They were giving money people that they were not going to pay back. So the same thing that was done before now, where Nigerians gave money out, and then unfortunately it did not work out as it should. Also, Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs. You have the NDDC Commission.
Yeah, so the Niger Delta Development Commission.
Why do we still have NDDC Commission when there is a ministry for the Niger Delta? Okay, should we make the NDDC work and then forget about the ministry? So why do we have, and monies are being channeled and funneled through these places on a regular basis. So what are we doing? And still now, people in that region still complain about a lot of things. There is no water, bad roads, and the likes. So if we have been spending money on these ministries and these commissions for a long time, what exactly are we doing there? Also, Ministry of Information and National Orientation, okay? You still have an agency called NOAA, National Orientation Agency. You have other places.
NCC too.
A lot of
Communications
them.
Commission.
Communications Commission. Why do we have to separate them? Why we can put them under one umbrella? Yes, they can do different, maybe allocate different jobs to them, but they can be under one umbrella. Why should we spread them across? Also, Ministry of Youth Development. Okay, there used to be a time where you have Ministry of Youth and Sport. And we have tried to go around it. It focuses on youth empowerment. Yes, but there are issues about why not focus on Ministry of Education and put youth under Ministry of Education, or maybe Labour, or maybe sports ministries, and then put it together. There used to be a time where we even separate Ministry of Youth, and then we have Ministry of Sports, and other things like that. And do not forget that even sport, we have what we call the NFF. We have a lot of them operating separately. Why not put the Sports Commission there, just like we have it now, and then let it be like that, and not create another ministry when they have overlapping functions? Also, you have Ministry of Women Affairs. They are to advocate for women, right? But then, some are saying these gender issues in the country are being misunderstood. So, it should rather be put, not isolated, but put somewhere, some things will be done. But some people argue with you. If you have Ministry of Women Affairs, why not have Ministry of Men Affairs? These are questions people will continue to ask you. So, again, lastly, Ministry of Police Affairs. You see, they oversee the administrative workings of the police. But then, people are talking about Ministry of Interior and Police Service Commission. You have civil defense under the Ministry of Interior. Why not the police under the Ministry of Interior? Because obviously, if you check their pay when it comes to how they are being paid, people who are under the Ministry of Interior actually get paid more than those who are just, with the Police Service Commission. If you check their payment structure, it is totally different. And even their ranks, totally different. So, the problem now is that we tend to put things, spread things across, and eventually we'll do nothing. Why not put it in one place and focus on the job at hand?
Mm. I would also, maybe just lastly, just add to what you've said, that there's no point for getting a new thing if the old thing is working perfectly. And I think why you've been able to make all of these claims and you've expressed it across board is because they have not been working.
Right. That's the truth.
So if they have been working, I'm not sure we have to debate why do we have this duplication. It's because of course we see that they are supposed to do the same thing, but they are duplicated. They have different offices. Imagine the number of the amount of money you have to spend to have one erect a building. They call it Service Commission. Have another, call it Interior and Police. I mean, so all of those. I mean, there's a lot of things, and we should really start thinking about what's working and what's not. The things that are working, let's do it more. Let's get it better. Right. The things that are not working, let's change it. There's nobody that says we should stand there and be there forever. We are not trees. Trees are the only things that cannot move. We are living things and we can move. Trees even move, but it's just that their movement is not from one point A, from one location to another. They can still move, but we should really move from where we are if we see a lapse in a particular system that we are using.
Right, it's a convenient place to leave that topic this morning. I know. Let's help you plan your day and take